The first is supply chain issues. The main supply chain issues for supply chain, what that means, I think a lot of people just say it and no one really knows what it means. But you've got to get a lot of stuff together to even make the most simple product. I read a book when I was doing my MBA called iPencil. And iPencil talks about the supply chain associated with a pencil. You know, I'm like, where do you get the raw materials for the eraser? Well, it's like 2 places in the world make it. Where do you get the lead, and what factory, you know, has to then make that lead? And then is it a different place that actually puts it inside of the wood and actually makes the pencil? You know, and it's this crazy stuff that's getting shipped all over the world. So think about making something hard like an iPhone or a car. I mean, these supply chains are all over the world. And if you have one problem, right? If your iPhone is missing one piece, that little thing that goes over the lenses, you can't make it, right? Even you might have 99% of the parts. So supply chain issues are a huge problem, and that is causing everything to get more expensive. And I think why are supply chains a problem? And I don't think anyone really talks about this. It's because everyone switched. So 2 years ago, pre-COVID, people were spending money on services, right? You pay someone to cut your lawn, you go on a vacation, you go out to eat, you go to the movies, right? You're doing all of these things, but you weren't really, the economy was more services than it was goods. Well, then you were stuck at home and you started to look around and you realize your house is kind of a dump. You figure, well, I could have a different car, right? You know, I'm getting the stimulus money. We can maybe do something a little bit different. Especially with gas prices going up, a lot of people are switching, you know, to a more fuel efficient or hybrid or EV vehicles. So people went from buying a lot of, you know, a lot of services to a lot of goods. And the factories just couldn't keep up. So those are as you can see on we're going to go through these each just very briefly about like what is causing the supply chain problems. But I think the switch from services to goods is what caused this big backlog. And then all of these other 5 points have really exacerbated it, which makes the price of everything just go through the roof. Number one is shipping container costs. So because there's so much more stuff, there's not as many shipping containers now, right? Because pretty much they were all full to begin with. So you have a bunch more stuff they're shipping around the world to get us what we want to buy. And look at the price of a shipping container. It is up literally 10 times in a year. 10 times in order to get a shipping container and send it over, right? From either us exporting, which doesn't happen that much in goods. Typically it's us importing. So I just think like just to ship something, just to get a container will cost you 10 times more than it did a year ago. I have a friend who owns it's like a steel manufacturing firm, and he usually gets calls. It's like, well, I've called 5 other people and here's the price they give me, and you know, can you beat that? The calls he was getting last year are more like, hey, my company's going to shut down because I can't make the part because I can't get steel. I'll pay you whatever you want if you just give me some steel, right? And it's like he told me, he goes, I made 10 times more last year than I ever have, because people will pay me whatever I want to charge for my steel, right? It's crazy. The same is true with this. Those prices come back to us, right? And then now the price of whatever you're buying goes up. We have to pay more. Then we go to our boss, we say, hey, look, I have to pay way more for all this stuff. I need a raise. And your boss will give it to you because they're selling their goods for more, right? Like GM sold 10% less cars last year and made 10% more money, right? So they charged more per car. They made more profit. They gave more money to their employees so those employees can go buy more stuff, right? And it's just this cycle that kind of spirals out of control. So a lot of people ask about, we did a Q&A a couple months ago about Russia and the Ukraine. The biggest issue there is going to be Europe. You know, when you have the biggest energy producer attack the biggest food producer, those are 2 of the most sensitive things in the CPI, which is, you know, how they come up with the inflation number. So that is going to be very expensive. And on a global scale for oil, we all see that at the pump. And then locally for natural gas and food, Europe is going to have crazy inflation, way more than us. And they're going to have to raise their interest rates up a lot, which is going to cause a big recession over there, if I had to guess. So, you know, because a lot of that stuff is local. Gas all goes through pipes. It's very expensive to put it on a boat, liquefy it, pressure it, and bring it all the way over to Europe. They're doing some of that now to help offset the loss of Russian gas, but they're their natural gas is probably going to be 1,000%, so 10 times more expensive than it was last year. That's very, very, very inflationary and recessionary, right? Because you're spending all of your money on natural gas and not on other stuff. So it's bad for the economy. China's zero COVID. When I tell people this, no one really knows what I'm talking about. And I'm surprised because so in China right now, if you have any amount of COVID in an area, they will basically shut down the city. Shanghai, which is one of the largest cities in the world, has like 30 million people. Shanghai just opened up 2 days ago. If you and this is why I'm surprised. It was all, I thought at least it was all over the news and the internet. I mean, China was building cages or gates or fencing around big apartment buildings so no one could get out or in, right? They're very serious about not having a lot of COVID. I don't know why, because the worst thing that COVID will do, generally, I mean, other than of course the human toll, is hurt your economy. But they're already killing their economy by shutting the entire thing down anytime anyone gets COVID. But China's zero COVID policy means all those people stuck in their apartment can't go to work, they can't make stuff, they can't go to the port, right, and make sure that these big containers are going in and out, right? The entire thing shuts down, and China's a huge, probably the most important part of the supply chain in the world today. So for goods, and but not for services. So if you want to buy something, some part of that's coming from China, and if China's basically shut down, then you've got to source that from somewhere else. And again, the only way you're going to do that is pay more, right? So you can get it instead of someone else. So zero COVID policy is a huge, huge, huge problem. If China came out tomorrow and said we're solving that, I think inflation would drop a lot in the next couple months, which would be wonderful.